to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Total protonic reversal.
Protonic reversal.
Protonic Reversal with your host, Conan Neutron. Broadcasting from a secret underground lair in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
A gigantic middle finger to everything that is rock about music, rock and roll, and corporate power.
The thing is, though, if you don't laugh, you're going to go on a killing spree with sharpened nails.
Confidence of a hero or a fool, I wasn't exactly certain which.
Could not be more professional.
It means something. It means something.
You know, that's my take. What's yours?
Protonic Reversal!
That's like a science thing, right?
Indeed it is. It is a science thing. It is a science place. It is a scientific fact that we are all up in your face. It's time once again for the one, the only Protonic Reversal. Welcome to it. Episode 432. Wow, that's a big number, isn't it? It's a good time. This is the first tolerable day of summer for me here, so it's nice to be able to go outside and not feel like I'm in somebody's jockstrap. So there you go. Tonight, in just a moment, going to be talking to Brian from Def Club. They have a new record. It's fantastic. I'm super excited to talk to this guy. I've geeked out with him about niche boutique pedals many times over, as well as bands and records. Has a great record store as well. Just a really cool guy. Excited for that. Before we do that, welcome to Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. I'm your host, Conan Neutron. I'm a rock and roll lifer that's been touring and recording for 25 years, most known for the band Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends. Music is a huge part of my life, and I use the format of this very long-running podcast to talk about music with musicians whose work I enjoy and respect, but who may not be household names. This is episode 432. Now, if this is your first time listening to the show, archives of it are available for free. No ads, no sponsors, no kidding, at ProtonicReversal.com. However, if you want to support the show and get episodes sooner, $1 a month at patreon.com/Protonic Reversal will achieve that goal. If you like the show or even just a single episode, please feel free to subscribe on your platform of choice, share it around to the internet, even leave a review. All to help people discover the show. It beats back the almighty algorithmic overlords, and it's just a darn nice thing to do. That's a lot of alliteration there in that thing that I made for myself some time ago. Boy, I don't know. I was very confident of my speaking skills for someone that had to take speech therapy in second grade. Anyway, Def Club's a great band. Brian's a great guitar player, noisenik, and musician. And without any further ado, let's bring him on right now. Brian, welcome to the show, man.
What's up? How you doing?
Music store proprietor too, right? I always forget to mention that. I always forget to visit too when we're down over there. I'm like, oh yeah, we should stop by the store.
It's kind of in the weird San Gabriel Valley in Covina. I grew up here, so it's not LA proper or whatever. Yeah. I like that. I like being on the outskirts of things.
That makes it cooler to me because as someone that comes from nowhere, like I'm from California, but I'm from like the Nebraska of California. I'm from Modesto, so I'm like the Central Valley. So it's like, there was nothing cool happening there. People have retroactively trying to be like, oh, there's all this cool stuff. Yeah, none of that was around when I was around. None of it. And so because of that, you need someplace where you can find the stuff that meets your tastes and sensibilities, right? And for us, guys of our age, not just guys and gals, it was the record store, because that was before the algorithm was pumping out like, oh, you like the birthday party, check out Scratch Acid, and okay, cool, yeah, I do like all those things, but like it was a lot harder before.
Sure. Yeah, and I remember being young and going to Tower Records when it was still here.
Yeah,
sort of looking at record covers and buying records just strictly on the artwork or the song titles. You didn't have Spotify, you didn't have none of this shit.
My man. Absolutely. Where you're just like, wow, what's that?
Yeah.
That sounds crazy.
Enough, And sometimes we buy really bad stuff because of it, but
where it's a great record cover, but that's as far as it gets, and you're like, all right. Hey, there's a few bands I won't name them where it's like I've tried a couple times like that band name is so cool. I wish I liked the music. God.
Yeah, the name is really great, and then you get to it, you're like, this is not what I expected this name to be. You know,
It's a very tough name for not tough music. You know.
Yeah.
So while we're talking about these formative things, right? What was your gateway into music, to playing music, to the world of music?
Into playing music. I mean, I was relatively young when we moved to Argentina. My parents are from Argentina, and they had us here, and then we moved back when I was about 8. And I remember I had a couple of friends that were older than me, maybe 11, 12, 13. They had older brothers that were in bands. They were to like Metallica and like Red Hot Chili Peppers and stuff that was big in Argentina. There's not a lot of exports and stuff, so it was really just the big bands. But I remember my buddy was really into Nirvana, and he asked me to go to Reversal-Ep432 Stadium, which is a soccer stadium. I was way too young. My parents didn't let me go. And it was maybe the last time that Nirvana played in Argentina. And then he passed away. And I remember on MTV3, which was the Spanish MTV, they played Unplugged in New York on rotation 24/7 when he passed away. And they were just, this sad moment. And my buddy was crying, and I was like, who's this, And I got really into it. Then we moved back to the States, and I went to a Circuit City, which is making me old, but I went to a Circuit City.
True heads know. Yeah.
It dates me. And I bought Stone Temple Pilots' Tiny Music from the Vatican gift shop and Nirvana's Bleach. And I didn't know what, the popular Nirvana was.
Right.
It had a sticker on it that said, this is Nirvana's first album. And I was like, oh, okay, it must be the one with all the big hits.
That's the one with all the hits that I know. Right.
Yeah.
No,
it was not. And, then that's where it came, and then
when they were like ripping off the Melvins as babies,
Yes.
In a good way, not in a bad way.
And eventually you got Incesticide, In Utero, Nevermind, everything. Yeah. And then got exposed to Daniel Johnston, Sonic Youth, all the stuff that, Kurt had recommended. He had his top 50 list, Butthole Surfers, and then eventually had, buddies in high school that were freaks and outcasts and punks and queer and ravers, and then that got me into everything else.
You get turned to everything else. No, but that's interesting because I had a similar sort of gateway thing myself with Nirvana because I had rock and roll parents that they were listening to like Sabbath and Zeppelin and Neil Young and whatnot, and that was cool. I enjoyed that stuff, but it was like when I heard Nirvana, I was like, oh, this is different. This is hitting different. Yeah. And in that same way, I like to delve deep into Sonic Youth, the Melvins, Butthole Surfers. Again, whatever Kurt was wearing a T-shirt of, Flipper, great.
It brought the underground, I think, to everything. My mom was more into like T-Rex and David Bowie.
Nice. Lots of Bowie in the house too. Yeah, for sure.
A lot of like the British rock shit that came into Argentina, and then my dad was into like Argentine folklorico and like Pavarotti and like stuff that. So I got a lot of extremes of music that always kind of influenced me. But Nirvana was the first one that I was just like, that's it, favorite band ever. So yeah.
And there's a through line towards the world of noise rock or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And like the more crazy in utero noisy stuff, Incesticide. You this where it's like, oh yeah, all the weirder songs. It's like, oh, this is fits slots very nicely, right? And if you only know the super poppy stuff, then like maybe you'd be disdainful of that, or you wouldn't.
Sure, yeah. Everyone thinks Smells Like Teen Spirit is like the only song. I mean, having a record store, obviously, it sells. That's the record that sells the most.
And as far as like if you're gonna get a record as a young person, you could do worse. But some people, that's where the journey ends. They're like, oh yeah, cool, it has the songs I like, and that's all I need.
But I got really into like collecting like CDs that were like imports, Japanese imports, and like UK pressings, and they had all the B-sides, and gnarlier. So I was like, well, like I got to collect all this stuff, So.
And some of those are like the crazier stuff too, and like the weird cover. That's no fronting. That's how I discovered the Wipers. I was like, they're covering the Wipers, and then I like got the Wipers stuff, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. like I see why they covered it.
Then I got into like Japanese bands like the Boredoms and all these other sort of Flaming Lips got me into Yoshimi and all these things, and then Melt Banana, and then I just started I got obviously into the Locusts, and I got into just sort of mathy stuff, weird stuff.
Yeah. and you're finding more of it kind of as you go deeper down the rabbit hole, so to speak.
Yeah.
So when do you start playing music? When is your first?
I started playing when I was 13.
Okay.
I was in high school and we had an elective guitar class, right, for my freshman year. So I bought this really bad classical acoustic guitar for $70, I think it was, and it wouldn't tune.
Was it nylon? Was that a nylon guitar?
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course it was.
Yeah. My parents were like, you have to learn classical music or whatever they want. They thought I was going to be one of those prodigy kids.
You got to try some Paco de la Cia on for.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. My dad always wanted me to do El Concierto de Don Juez, which is like a classically,
Sure, yeah.
all these tangos and all these weird rhythms that I definitely could not get. And
then that comes back around, like later on, you're like, oh, that is cool. But like at the time, it's like, I don't care about this. This is not what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, I just could not do it. My hand would not, do this instead of this. And it was like, no way. But it was a class full of like 30 people, so the teacher would sit there and press, okay, this is the E note on the piano, and everyone would have to tune it. So you have 30 people hitting one string and trying to tune it together. And it was the most discordant thing ever. And
it's like the crappiest version of Glenn Branca.
Oh, it was cool. Yeah, exactly. And I was like, all right, well, this is not what Sonic Youth is doing, but
Yeah, exactly.
But then eventually there was 2 kids in there. There was like a punk kid, and he was playing power chords, and there was another kind of normie kid, and he was also playing power chords. And I went to the normie kid because the punk was like a little too cool for me. And I was like, hey man, how do you do that? And he said, oh, it's just power chords. I said, yeah, I don't know what that is. And he taught me power chords. And then at that point, the internet still had tabs. You'd go and
That's right. Tab it out.
Yep. And I would just tab stuff. And I was like, 001, like, got it.
Yeah.
So, I learned all those things. They try to teach me like the Beatles, which I know is, it's a controversial thing to say that I don't like the Beatles, but I didn't want to learn the Beatles. I just wanted power chords,
Steve Albini notoriously didn't care. But plenty of people, and all I'll say for that is they got a lot of songs. So it's like if you can't find at least one song you like out of it, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. But I just, I never saw them as like my favorite. Also,
if you're your go-to, that's a different thing.
Yeah, it had a lot to do with Argentina too, because the British, fought the Falkland Islands War. And so I was very anti-British music.
Okay. Yeah.
Zeppelin, Floyd, some of that stuff I was just like, nope, and
it's going to have negative cultural ramifications just by basis where they're from. That's interesting. Okay.
And the Beatles was one of those things that because every band in Argentina tried to sound like them after,
Sure. Yeah.
In the 70s, there was a revolt against British music, which was, why is everyone who speaks Spanish in our country trying to sing in English to make, Beatles sounding songs. And so it just became this thing where it's like, no, we have our own language. And so a lot of folk artists like Spinetta, and then eventually new wave 80s artists like Gustavo Cerati and Soda Stereo, they were like, yeah, we're the antithesis of.
And there we go. I think we lost Brian for a second. Hopefully that wasn't me. But we're talking, of course, to Brian of Def Club, who was telling us a wonderful story and mid-sentence dropped off. So here he is. He's back again. All right, there we go. Yeah, no worries.
Was that me? Sorry.
I don't believe it was me. Sometimes I'll like hit something by accident, but
I didn't touch anything. It was the British for sure.
It was it was Charles. It was King Charles himself. Actually, he's a fan. But not this episode. But
so it became one of those things, and then I became very into like, Neil Young and sort of more discordant music and more New York no wave and Glenn Branca, like you said. And then punk rock, and then discovering that I didn't really like certain punk. Everyone's like, you have to like whatever, Black Flag, Bad Brains, that. It's like, cool, I like them enough, but like I thought maybe I wasn't tough enough, to understand hardcore or whatever. Yeah. I was a real skinny kid,
Well, because there's punk rock and then there's hardcore, right? And like definitionally, like hardcore is punk rock.
Yeah.
but a certain strain of punk rock. But punk rock is not necessarily hardcore.
No. And I got really. It was more like I like art punk, and I like what we now consider maybe art punk or noise rock or things like
post punk. I mean, stuff like PIL, birthday party, pop group, like that stuff. Where it's like, oh, this is crazy. What's the fall? I don't know. Sounds terrifying. Whatever it is,
and all these other things. I was like, this is way more interesting as far as Mars, DNA,
absolutely, like Eight-Eyed Spy and like all the Lydia Lunch stuff, Teenage Jesus,
So it became there, and then I became more of a weirdo, and that's spawned from books as well and movies. I liked weird, and I loved William Burroughs as a writer, and so reading things as a young teen that I probably shouldn't have read, but or whatever, but it influenced me a lot to be experimental, quote unquote, with what I did. And that's when I started getting into pedals and gear and all that stuff.
And I'm glad you brought that up because even though this is not a gear show, I do think you're someone that utilizes the world of effects pedals in an interesting and creative way, which is kind of no mean feat, really. Like it's I feel like a lot of people have like, oh, here comes the coffin full of pedals, and you're like, all right, you touched like 3 of those. Like, why do you have all those? Like, I don't understand why that's there. Play the red one. That's like you say yelling out a song request, you're yelling out a pedal request or something, right?
Yes.
But then I was listening to the new record, which we'll get into, but I was like, oh yeah, there's whole like hook lines were just like, no, this is just a weird noise. This is just like a weird zap, like ray gun zap noise where it's no, and that's as much of a hook as like whatever, a C minor or whatever people would do normally. And it strikes me how little you actually hear that. I mean, the antecedent, all that, the first band I heard do that was Melt Banana, of course.
Yeah.
And then I guess to a lesser extent, some of the stuff that the Fell from Rage Against the Machine does in the mainstream capacity, right?
The whammy, yeah, absolutely.
And then, like, for me, it always comes down to, like, Andy Gill and Gang of Four, just, like, what's he doing with that? I don't even know how he's making that sound. It's, like, nuts. Yeah. And then, that also leads to, like, stuff like Drive Like Jehu, where it's, like, how are these feedback sounds coming out this way? Like, why does this sound like a bird? I don't know what's happening.
That trick in particular, I know it's really cool how he does that, but...
and now I know, but at the time I was just like, how's he doing that?
I think there was also a website that at some point I looked up at how to make a noise.
Right.
And it was like the Gilmore trick of putting 2 wahs next to each other and making, the seagull sound.
Yeah.
And, the whammy, fucking Tom Morello, And so I started thinking of that, and also thinking of the guitar as like, I don't have to play a chord. I can make it more percussive. Mars did that a lot. A lot of no wave stuff, and it was almost like if you
Fred Frith, all that kind of stuff. I mean, like, absolutely.
But it was like you shouldn't necessarily be limited to the concept of like, it's just these amount of notes and these strings and that's it. Sonic Youth would use power tools, and sort of, or feedback. Melvin's did that a lot, where I was like, wow, he manipulating the feedback and being able to control it and create a rhythm out of it
to make it musical, right?
Yes. Yeah. The cacophony of sort of everything, which was also, some David Lynch stuff that I learned how to, the industrial sound of guitars and feedback and, playing behind the nut, the bridge, everything is like, everything's free reign if you could, create it.
Well, and that's using the instrument as, compositionally, like beyond just the traditional way of doing it, which is not, if it was easy, everyone would do it.
And I never wanted to be, not the word isn't talented, but I didn't want to be like, Malmsteen. I didn't want to be Vai, even though I use this amp or whatever, but like, I didn't want to be these virtuosos that could play something and it just, I liked Hendrix, I liked how he manipulated feedback. I liked how he created, the Roger Meyer pedals, the Octavias and all these, and how he used feedback and the guitar. Even though he's a phenomenal player, he used it in completely different ways than what it was meant to be.
A musical way, and the people you mentioned before, they're very technically accomplished, but you can't really identify a feel or a song half the time, frankly. piece
Sure,
of love in my
sure,
heart. But they're not really feel. Whereas like Hendrix is like all feel. And he's someone that's like, Greg Sage, like, well, he's the Hendrix of punk rock. It's like, well, not because he rips him off, but because he has such incredible feel with what he's playing. Neil Young the same way. He's all feel as well.
Yeah.
I mean, there's times it's like, is he even in tune? I don't know. Does it matter? Probably not. But he's going.
I forget if it was Hendrix or somebody that said, like, it's not that, hit a wrong note. So most people say that you could hit a wrong note, and the note that follows is the one that matters. Where some other people, I think it was Hendrix, that said, if you hit a wrong note enough times, then it becomes a right note because you heard it so many times that you're like, oh, it's on purpose, So
when I had Steve Turner of Mudhoney on, he was talking about that, and he talked about and it's you slide into it, you slide into what it's supposed to be. There you go.
Yeah.
And now it's a cool part.
Bend it enough, or don't bend it enough. We use a lot of brain chords to create tension now, and and the more that you do it on purpose, the more it looks like you're kind of what you're doing.
Right? It's like, oh, he's a virtuoso, he's a maestro.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, don't tell him. So, you start when you start playing with others. When you actually start like playing,
I started immediately. I must have been playing guitar for like a couple months, and then there was a local high school band. They had already had all their members, and they wanted a third guitarist because they wanted to do the Sonic Youth thing. And I was like, cool, I'll do it. And the bass player maybe quit, before I even joined, and they said, well, we need a bassist, and I said, oh, I'll play bass. And I just bought a bass, and I started becoming the bass player. And that was my first band, and I just sort of really appreciated rhythm and melody and hooks because I like Novoselic and stuff, and I thought I could play bass as well. And also I loved Lemmy, so eventually I got a Rickenbacker, and I was like, yup, bass is rad. So
it can sound like that. Whoa, where it's like this pummeling thing where it's like, oh yeah, that's that sounds cool.
And it became a thing. I would play bass for a long time. I played bass in wedding cover bands, rock en español cover bands, just to make ends meet and stuff. And but I started when I was 13 right away in the band, and then eventually I've been part of so many bands and so many things that have failed gloriously. And you learn from each one, and each one was different. Guitar, some of them I had way too much gear, much more than I have now. Like a couple Chaos pads, a couple SPS samplers, plus all my guitar stuff. And I'm just like, wow, I'm pretty ridiculous at this point.
Yeah, and that goes back also. Well, and also something that comes up a lot too is that you'll have stuff like that, and then once you start being on the road, it's like, oh no, I got to pair.
Oh no, yeah.
This is not gonna fly. You're saying because you said you have a whole freaking space station every show.
Yeah, like, and every time that one cable goes out, you have to figure out which one it is, and it's like, this is crap.
Yeah. So, where's the noise coming from or not coming from? Is the case
I try to whittle it down the most as possible for Def Club, which is still 21 pedals on my board.
Right. Yeah, that is pared down. Exactly. No, but you utilize them well. But before we get into Def Club,
sure.
So connect the dots between. So when you start like playing like for real, like not just playing for the hell of it, but like playing for like as like this is what I want to do.
I mean, I had so many projects, but I think forever this is what I wanted to do right away. But I kind of I couldn't sing and play at the same time, so it was a process of learning how to do all these things. It was a process of learning how to get the right tones, the right guitars, the right everything. And it took me maybe this long. I used to be in a band, a power violence band called Antichrist Demon Corps, with my twin brother and friends, and they started in 2003, and that was the first time that I toured. We went to Europe a lot. They're into power violence and sort of heavy music and stuff, and so that was the first time I got out of the country doing that, and that was fun. I like traveling. I like eating different food and seeing things, and I was like, yeah, this is cool.
Well, and some people take to it and some people don't. It's not for everybody. You don't necessarily know how to do it.
Yeah, if you're a lifer, like you said earlier, being a lifer of rock and roll, punk rock, all that stuff, you have to go through a lot. I have had too many friends that thought, oh yeah, I want to be a quote unquote rock and roll star, and I'm like, dude, you don't even want to travel the weekend.
When will that happen?
Yeah.
When your genius is just suddenly recognized as always
Yes.
happens? Yeah, I mean, okay, great. Good luck.
So a
I'm
lot
not
of people,
supposed to be out here doing the work while you're doing that.
yeah. A lot of people want the job because they think it's not a job.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Well, and so if I may, and I might, I feel like culturally there isn't the lexicon for that. Like there is the lexicon for like the working stand-up comic, right? And other art forms where it's like, oh no, you see them putting in the work, and then that will. They build a career out of it. That gets larger, et cetera, et cetera. But we've been so almost famous poisoned, like the Cameron Crowe movie, that like
Sure.
there just isn't. There aren't those kinds of stories in popular culture, at least in whatever the monoculture is. So because of that, it's weird. They're like, "Oh, you're in a band." Like, "Oh, what's the name of it?" Like, you haven't heard of it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You don't worry about it.
On an airplane, traveling, and then some nice sweet old lady comes up and it's like, "What's the name of your band?" And we're just like, we make up names because we're like, like, don't worry, like just to make it sound a little bit
Red
more.
Hot Chili Peppers, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
Oh, I think I've heard of that. Okay, yeah.
It's fine.
Well, but it's also, if you do truly love it and it's something that drives you, then the act of doing it, the destination becomes the journey. Like doing it becomes.
Yeah, it's a matter of self-preservation, and not as you don't do it for financial reasons.
Lord knows.
There's nothing in it. You have to be mentally sturdy, to be able to do something because you love it. It's the same as anything. Anyone that you draw for a living, you're an artist. If you're not going to sell that for thousands of dollars, then it is what it is. You just have to keep doing it, and that's just something that drives us internally more than anything.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's something that, again, there just aren't a lot of stories like that in whatever atomization of the monoculture is left. So people don't think about it. All right. So you kind of get the bug for touring. You spend some amount of years doing that. Right?
Yeah. I think it was like 4 years, 5 years, something like that, on and off, touring. Europe was always the best to us, but Europe, obviously there's also, America's not made for touring bands.
There's so much of it. There's so much America. There's it's hard. So it's like, so if you do it, you have to really want to do it, and especially coming up on the West Coast.
Yeah, you could travel through. California and Texas are just huge. You could travel 20 hours and you get to Texas. You're like, I'm in the middle only. Like this isn't.
We've been doing all day.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of landscape that sometimes you're happy to see.
Especially West Texas, not to specifically call that out, but
no, but also there's the infrastructure of like, in punk rock, I guess there was at a point where you could just sleep on people's floors, but once you get to a certain age and you've been doing it for so long, you're like, all right,
I'm not going to do that.
and hotels cost money, and it's gas, and they don't pay you for those things, and they don't feed you the way that when you go to Europe, everyone they'll make a meal, everybody sits together and eats. The promoter, you could stay at a loft, they'll pay for whatever, and so it's a better support system for musicians. Like almost they care about them as a people. Where America, it's tough.
Yeah, and it's and it really hasn't changed that much. Everyone still gets paid before the bands usually, like until you get to a certain point.
Absolutely.
It's like, why did the bartender get a payout? Isn't he getting tips? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, it's wild.
Christ. No, so you've got some years of touring. Now, my understanding, last time I had JP on the show, it was some time back. I don't even know if Def Club was going yet. It was like maybe before that. But I know that when Retox was going, you were playing with Retox, right? That's sort of how that. Am I on base here with that?
Yeah, we. My band had played 3 shows with Retox. I was stoked. I love JP as a person, but I was a fan.
Of course.
Locust, and he's only 8-9 years older than me, but like I grew up listening to them. And I thought like, oh, this is proper weird. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It was cool to play with them, and they had phenomenal musicians in Retox as well. Crane was a phenomenal guitarist. Everybody in that band is great people. We're great people too, and I think we played like 3 shows, and then maybe just kept in touch on Instagram every once in a while. But I ended up going to I go to concerts a lot. I used to go to concerts 3-4 times a week, no problem. Go, it was go do photography or just hang out. And I went to San Diego to see Metz at the Casbah, and he was kind of like, "Oh, you like not normal music, but not just power violence, noise rock."
You don't just have like this one, because some people they do, where it's like, oh, they listen to this music, and
you're only a
good for
grind guy, like you only like, it's like no, like I like everything. And,
just like let's divide up this subculture into even smaller cul-de-sacs. Great, I mean, whatever.
And the gatekeeping and elitism of a lot of those sub-genres of music is pretty wild to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but I'd go to a lot of shows and run into him. And, eventually he said, like, "Oh, let's make a band." And I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" I was like, "You're joking, right? Like, you're in the Locust, dude. You need to make a band with me,
Yeah.
And that's where it went.
Yeah. Okay. So, and that's interesting too. And I've had Crane on the show. Like I said, I had JP on, but I'm pretty sure Def Club was like just getting going. I don't even remember when that was. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like I did so many of these shows during the pandemic. They'd be like, "When was that?" And then I'd be like, "Oh yeah, that was like because I was doing like 5 a week, right?"
Yeah, pandemic brain is real.
Yeah, and it's like because I was always doing it. Couldn't tour, couldn't do anything else. But so you get it together. And and JP's he's a busy guy. He also has a Dead Cross too going at the time, especially.
Yeah, at the time, yeah.
And so where does it go from being like, yeah, let's jam, or whatever the corollary would be, to like actually being a real thing?
Yeah, so I mean, I had been without a band for maybe like 6 months at that point, and I was like, man, fuck it. He said, hit me up. And I was like, all right. So I messaged him on Instagram, and he was on tour with Dead Cross, and he said, yeah, let's do it. But I really want to find a great drummer. And so I'll ask around. And then John Severson from Daughters recommended Scott. I had actually practiced with another drummer that was like nearby, and he was a good drummer, but he didn't want to jam. He wanted me to bring stuff, and then he would bring stuff, and then we'd just learn it. So he wouldn't like organically like, hey, let's figure something out.
Right. Which is a different, it's not invalid. It's just a different way of working.
Yeah, it's just a different way of working. And I didn't necessarily want to be the guy who's like, here's my riff, play to it, and don't change it or whatever. And eventually that was like maybe a month or something. And Scott was recommended by John Severson from Daughters. And he said, this guy from Texas is moving to San Diego if you want to try him out. And so he came up, and we wrote 2 songs off the EP like that first day. And, he would kind of, we didn't have a language with each other yet. I didn't even have a pedal board at that point. I had like 5 pedals, and I was like, okay, I'm going to eventually build something with us. And
right. That's how you know it's early.
Yeah. He would just make sounds. He'd be like, can you go, and I'd be like, okay. And I'd figure it out on guitar. And he'd be like, yeah, because I have this drum beat I always wanted to do. And then we'd just start shooting off each other, and it became a thing for us. And so I was like, yeah, this guy's way cooler as far as the writing process goes, and I think we could do something. And we wrote the first 5 songs really, really quick. And Justin was like, we need to put these out immediately. And so it was kind of like quick.
And is that what the Contemporary Sickness?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Like and you could tell the difference. I mean, I love those songs. I really like playing them. Yeah. I think they're fun, but it's 5 songs in 6 minutes.
Right? Yeah, they're not. I was gonna say I don't recall them being especially long.
No. Yeah, and it became a thing where I think Scott also played in Weak Flesh, and obviously I was in a power violence band, so doing that was like, if you wrote a 30-second song, that's a song for people, and in that realm. And so,
oh yeah, dude, I would see like bands where it's like, oh, it's a 13-minute set, but they played like 20 songs. Like, okay,
yeah. I mean, to be fair, even Mel Banana does it. They do like eight songs and like whatever amount of it's like, whoa, that was like 2 seconds,
Yeah.
And so now with with Scott, I think we were sort of shedding our old bands. We were. I didn't want to play power chords. In that band, I wasn't allowed to use pedals. It was just like straight into distortion, straight into an amp. I just used my orange distortion, and that was it. Like Power Violence isn't fancy, it's not like there's no reason for delays and ring modulators and stuff. And so I was sort of limited, even though I had like hundreds of pedals in my garage,
Right.
And with Scott, and I think I even mentioned it to Justin when we had dinner before we made the band, and I asked him, can I use pedals? And he was like, absolutely, like as many as you want. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And that was probably a mistake for him to say, but
Exactly. It's like a monkey spa,
Yeah.
What you
Are
ask
you
for.
sure?
Well, but that's what's interesting is that, like, I mean, I remember when I first heard it, it was like, oh yeah, it's like quick, fast, kind of crazy punk rock hardcore songs, cool, kind of grindy, right on, and then I didn't like really think too much about it. I not that I disliked it. I was like, oh, cool. I know what that is.
It's
right
too
on.
quick. It goes by so fast.
It goes by so quickly that you have to listen to it again. Like, you don't have a choice. But then I felt like after that, you guys did make a concerted effort to kind of create your own thing a little bit, and that's something that it's interesting to hear the mentality behind that, because there's a lot of ways to go. You could have like the blast beat centric hardcore punk assault, right? And you can have something that's like maybe more crazy and academic, and you can kind of do both. And Tommy is involved that way. How did that all come to pass with Tommy?
So we had a previous guitarist named Leo. He played like 8 shows with us or something. We didn't have a lot of shows because of the pandemic, obviously. And Tommy was in the Minx at that point, and he invited us to play our first show at the Bootleg Theater in LA. And we were like, we don't have songs. we don't,
Other than that's a foolproof plan. Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? He's like, you could open, and so we played. We had the first 5 EP, and then we started riffing on some new things, and then we were like, and then they're like, oh, encore, and then so we just played the same song that we just played, And Justin's a big fan of it as well. Let's just play the first song again, and it's like, okay, and so I think we played all of like 12 minutes, for that stuff. And then Tommy became a fill-in bass player.
Okay, cool.
And so when we let go of Leo, then Tommy was like, oh, I could play guitar. I love playing guitar. And so I sat there with him during the pandemic. We wrote the album, and I was teaching him the songs and teaching him the voicings, because at that point I had sort of developed specific voicings for Def Club and things. And so I was like, okay, if you do these minor fourths, you could do this. We could, these tritones, these scales work. And he started doing that. And then because we were getting pandemic relief money, we were just buying pedals like crazy, the both of us. And I'd get like 3 pedals a week in the mail, and eventually they all went into our pedal board, and then he did that for his pedal board as well, and it became a thing.
Right. Well, and it's interesting that you were thinking about it in terms of like, oh, this is the voicings. These are the things. Like, you're thinking about things like, again, for music, but for people that aren't fans of it, this sounds like tossed off, which is, there's nothing tossed off about it. Obviously, it's composed, but it's interesting to think about it. Applying the musicality to it, even if it's something where it's from a more functional perspective and like integrating certain things, certain sounds. Yeah, Tommy, interesting guy. I found about him through Cancer Christ, like right as he was joining GWAR, and then and then I was like, who's this guy? Like he's a busy guy. And then I was like, he's gonna make out Squid Pisser? That's a hell of a name. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's just him. My bad. Okay.
Yeah, it was just him, and he recruited a bunch of people for it. And but then a lot of those things were like, I did a lot of the work of like the voicings and the pedals and stuff like that, and then that sound ended up in Squid Pisser, and of course Tommy could use it all he wants, but I was like, man, that sucks. Like that was kind of my style.
Was your deal. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like, but he's more of he's technically much better than I am. I mean, but he comes more from metal, so he'll play a lot of like leads and a lot of like stuff like that. When we had him, it was kind of mayhem because we had his guitars, my guitars, noises, solos, this, that, all going.
Totally clashing styles. Just like
Yeah. Sometimes I was like, whoa, like I don't, we'd be like, where are we? Mentally, like where are we going with that? So, he left. I think before we had like a 5-week tour with Greg Puciato.
Who's also been on the show. He did that great record. He was on for that record too, which is like, it's great, but it's like so all over the place that like none of the streamers knew how to categorize it. So like, I don't know, just put it wherever you put in. In his old band, and it's like, but there's a song that like sounds like a like shoegaze like number in here. This is like a
lot of that stuff. And he had I think he had Nick from Daughters playing on that tour. Yeah. So there was a lot of stuff going on, and then we had 5 weeks, and we're like, all right, let's find another guitarist, and everyone was like, no, let's just do it as a 4-piece. And we just did 2 amps on each side of the stage.
Yeah. And I'm a big fan of that, by the way. I won't do it anymore, but I'm a big fan of that. Like, I was like, it sounds so great. Yeah, as long as someone else is setting it up, no problem.
Yeah.
I'm all about it.
It's just, I'm like, why do I got to carry 2 amps? Like, it's going to sound good.
It's going to sound so cool, though. It's like,
But I do it
and
now.
It does.
More clarity for the parts, for everyone. It's like, okay, there's the bass and there's all the madness that Brian does or whatever, and it's like, it's less chaos because I don't have to match up with another guitarist and all these weird voices.
You can just do whatever, right? And that goes back to what we're saying, like, having this weird sound is the hook that's like deployed in a certain way that is as distinctive as a chord or whatever, but just it hits differently, and so you need some articulation for that, or otherwise it's just going to sound like moosh.
Yeah,
especially for people that are unfamiliar, they can be like, what is that? Was it supposed to make that noise? Yes, that's part of the song.
It's more of a, before it was like, how do we play as much as possible, or like, in a tight spot, we'd have drums, but the drums were like going off like almost like a drum solo, and then there's noises and there's arpeggios happening, and now it's like, all right, not that we've calmed down, but definitely we pay more attention to what the parts should be doing to help each other's parts out,
Totally, and that's kind of like the progression of the band. I found is that there's like something, like, there's always something to kind of hang your hat on, even if it's something that kind of seems like on its own, like, what is that? But like, there's something to kind of hold on for dear life for while you're going on this roller coaster ride, which which is important. And so, okay, so then you got, and I forgot to mention there's the remix EP too. I was a big fan of rock bands doing remix EPs. That was like, was that just hey, it's COVID, why not? Let's just do something nuts.
I think it was like, we had friends that really wanted to do it, and there was like, just how weird can we be, because we want to do it on a cassette, and 5 songs on a cassette is weird. It's not that enough music, so. We reached out to friends that did all sorts of cool stuff, and we're like, all right, cool, But
and I forgot you did that Killing Joke cover too. The
yes,
are you a big Geordie guy? A big
I forget. I think Justin was talking to Jan or something to even play on it, and we'd always have like different ideas of what to do. And at that point, I think it was like we were gonna either do a Killing Joke cover or a Susie and the Banshees cover.
Nice.
And then we just picked that one. Justin suggested it, and so every EP we have like a cover. Like we have the Pixies cover on one, we have Tourette's,
that's right.
Nirvana's Tourette's on another. So
I remember the Tourette's one very well as a aforementioned Nirvana fan.
I
forgot about the Pixies one. Yeah, that was a while ago.
But that was also because we were on tour. We had a show canceled.
Yeah.
Because somebody got mad at our band name. They said that it was ableist. And
oh wow,
and so it was a DIY show in a basement at some kid's garage, and in some kid's house in New York, and then this person reached out and said, are you actually deaf? And it's like, we're not named after being deaf. Like the Deaf Club is a famous club, that Dead Kennedy played, Butthole Surfers played. It's a famous punk club, and it's about inclusion. It's about having the deaf community and different communities go there and look at the freaks of the punk scene and laugh at them and kind of also feel the music and everything. So it's about inclusivity, not, sort of excluding people. And they didn't really get it. So we're like, we're just going to drop. And our buddy Daniel, who also mixed this new record, was like, come to my studio. I'm closing it in a week, record a song. We only had one new song, which was Biblical Loophole. And then we said, all right, well, what else could we do? And I said, we could play Nirvana. I could do that in my sleep.
Yeah, do all day. Yeah.
You know?
Right,
and,
sure.
And it was like, yeah, but I have to learn all the lyrics. I'm all, not if you do Tourette's.
Yeah, there's like fucking 4 of them, right? Exactly.
Yeah, but it's fine. So we just did that, and then that became that. So
that's awesome.
But I got away with it.
Yeah. even though not everyone might be a fan, but it's like, yeah, that's an easy enough one to do. Well, that just reminds me with your Broken Face cover. Like, wasn't there a thing like Joey Santiago like what you did with the with the thing? Yeah, right?
Yeah,
wasn't
with the glitchy guitars, the whole function on the. He's like, oh, I'm gonna steal that or borrow that or something. I was like, you could have it. You know what I mean? Like it's your song, dude. You know.
I will say I saw the Pixies when Kim was still playing with them.
Oh yeah.
And Kim was great, but yeah, not a scintillating show. But that was like a exception where it's like, oh, he's just like going in the lab on this one. Like he's just like going deep, and they're just like, you know, just jamming that part out. It's like, oh, that's kind of cool. I'm kind of into that. But I also had like some 19-year-old chick next to me like screaming along the lyrics to every word. I'm like, oh my god, like. Yeah. I want to hear this band, not your rendition of this. My God. Yeah,
I've been there for many a concert with drunk people singing, you know. But Pixies was one of those, when they reunited, I think I saw them at Coachella for the first reunion, and then Kim was obviously in it, and I knew all the songs, and I was obsessed, and, you know, so I didn't think, because Jason, our bass player, works for Fender, he had, you know, Joey was a contact of his, and he sent it to him, and he said that. Rules. And I was like, oh, that's really nice. You know, I was like, ugh, you know, sort of, fanning out in my heart, but
well, rock and roll doesn't generally pay dividends where you can, you know, like what's the buzz thing, buying the house on cred, right? You know, hey, I got all this street cred, you know.
Yeah.
What can I? Is this legal tender? No, sir, it's not.
No, sir, it's not.
But you know, occasionally you get cool interactions like that.
Yeah, it feels good. It feels good to be recognized in any way, shape, or form whatsoever. Sometimes.
Yeah, well, like especially when it's like someone you like respect, where it's like, oh wow, actually that's you know, I still remember hearing those. You know what, man? First time I heard Pixies, didn't like it. I was like,
yeah, it was like, I heard all these great things about this band, and you know, you might get the wrong song also, and you're like, what is this?
But then I kept listening to it, and I was like, actually, this is okay. And then I was like, actually, this is like genius. And then I was like, all right, now I'm sick of listening to this. But like, I definitely didn't like it when I first heard it. I think I expected something crazier. I don't know why, but
I don't know what I expected, because I saw Frank Black before they reunited, so he was with the Catholics. And David Lovering was opening, and he was doing his magician act.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And at the El Rey, and I was like, well, this is the only time I'm going to ever be able to see members of the Pixies. Yeah. And like they reunited the year after, and I was like, oh shit, you know. But I thought it was like, oh, Frank Black's kind of like, you know, he's doing some weird country-esque, you know.
Yeah, when it morphed into the Catholics, it kind of lost me a little bit. But those first 3 Frank Black records, I really like. People diss on Cult of Ray, and I worked at a record store when it came out, so I heard it a lot because it was on Play Stock. That record's really good. Like, you listen to like a song like Men in Black, it's like, God, that's it. That jams. that shreds hard, man. It's a good tune.
He also just had these weird, like, almost Tourette syndrome, sort of like the yep, and like like just these little weird things. And I was like, this is so weird for a, you know, because it was like pop, but it wasn't pop, you know. So it was like the structures are pop, but they had all these little weird elements that they would throw in. I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to be a weirdo within the confines of certain, you know, these are my limitations, but how do I work within that, you know?
Right. Not to specifically do that thing, but to find that avenue forward with whatever your thing is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting. Okay, so and that kind of, so that leads us now more. Well, I guess, you know, we didn't really talk about Bad Songs Forever, but we kind of did. But
that's actually Justin's favorite of our output of music.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I don't even know. You mean like If You Eat a Rat, Might Taste Good was one of these things where it's like just a repetitive riff, and I was like, I kind of also wanted to do like a krautrock sort of, like if we just pummel this, you know, and then eventually it started morphing because everyone would get bored or they do this, but it was like, all right, and then it became more.
Yeah, that one's like echoes compared to your early stuff. You know what I mean? Like, but like it's like 3 minutes. So like, my God, they're writing epics now.
Where we were like, we have to actually write songs that, you know, mostly it wasn't even because we wanted to write, you know, a 3-minute song or whatever, so for people's sake or anything like that, but because people were like, hey, can you play a 45-minute set, and we're like, no.
We'd have to write 40 more songs. You get
We have to write 40 songs, and I was like, this is not doable. Like, I don't want,
yeah.
So, if you go to Europe and you do a headlining tour and they want you to play for an hour, you're like, dude, like that requires too much music. And now so we're like, how do we write better songs or songs that are still interesting to us within, the confines of 3 minutes or 4 minutes, which was pushing, for us, because we have such ADD and we played so fast that we were like, oh yeah, a minute and a half. Like, dude, it felt like that was 3 minutes for sure. And no, so eventually we got a handle of it at our tempo and, how I would write riffs and how the drums would go, so that it felt like it was actually musical enough, that people weren't just pummeled.
Yeah. So that brings us to We Demand a Permanent State of Happiness, which is the new record. And there's a thing I like to do on the show when there's a new record out, and just kind of go through song by song and kind of tell me a little bit about each one as you remember it, or if you remember it. Where they came from, where the title came from, and just like recording anecdotes, playing live, whatever. There's no wrong answers. Just giving some context for folks with the new record. Sure. So let's start off with Nihilism for Dummies, which is a great video for, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's
what it's got label guy Greg Anderson as the Pope.
As the Pope.
As the evil Pope. Or just
we were like, hey, can you just do this? And he's like, yeah, totally. So that was a good time for us.
Yeah.
I'm also, obviously, I love Son and all the stuff he's output. I love Southern Lord. Nihilism was the one with the pew pew pews with the laser.
Yeah, zip, 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 zip. Yeah, first I was like, I was doing a Nagata thing here. Cool. I mean, not that that's not that I just thought about that, but just in a way that nobody really does that. So
so it became it's based off the rhythm of Lowrider by War. So the cowbell,
that's awesome.
You hear that and so I was like, how do I play a percussive sort of cowbell sound? And also a rave sound, like
beep, 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 beep. Yeah.
So I started I had these pedals and I ran them into each other, and it created this feedback, but I could tune the feedback. And as I was tuning it, if I hit the guitar, it would gate the sound. And as it would gate the sound, it became sort of like a kill switch, almost like a Tom Morello thing, but
but it's as its own thing.
Yes. And it became sort of these laser sounds, and because it was a rave thing, and I had these looper pedals as I was writing it, Justin was like, that should go on forever. That riff should go on forever. It's the best riff we've ever.
It does sound pretty badass. It reminds me of those toy laser guns.
Yeah, it's weird.
Back in the day, where it's like, hell yeah.
In my mind, I was like, you think this is the best we've ever done? And I was like, that's wild to me. And he's like, yeah, it should be an intro for like 4 minutes, and we should just play it, and people should just stare at us. And I was like, okay. And it became a sort of rave punk song. It was this ravey horn and like a dancey da 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 da. And I was like, oh, I can make something else up to this or whatever. And that's what I remember. That riff is just a constant. He's like, that should be the first song. That should be the thing. That's a phenomenal effect. And I was like, great, but super strange.
Well, it kind of hits you upside the head too, and there's going to be a certain type of listener that maybe they're into more certain genres and subsects of punk rock or whatever. They're going to be like, "Whoa, what's this?"
Yeah.
And in that case, you're getting it out of the way immediately. Like, look, man, this is a statement of intent. Like, if you don't like this, I don't know what to tell you, man.
You're gonna have to deal with this, because this is I didn't call it the hook, but they were like, that's a hook. That's a fucking.
It is a hook, absolutely.
Because it sticks. It was. I remember the first time that we played it in Europe. I think maybe before we even recorded it. Yeah. Our sound engineer Michel and our friends, after every show, people would just be in the van going pew 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 pew. It was like an earworm,
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's like, that's cool. I like that,
Yeah, I love that. Well, and that's something that's I'm always a fan of when there's like a weird hook like that where you're like, what even is that? Which goes back to like the Jehu thing of just like, what is happening? Like, I don't understand like what I'm hearing. Sonic Youth, so many things where, and then like you figure out, you're like, oh, it's that.
Yeah.
And it's great, but it's like oh, but it seems like magic until it isn't.
I'd already done that trick before, and for a good time, call someone else on our previous LP.
Yeah.
And there's like a drum part that goes da 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 da, and I just went beep 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 beep.
Just follow
and
along.
it sounded more like a Morse code.
Yeah.
It was pitched higher, and so I was like, oh, I could use this trick again for something else. And
there's more space in this one though. There's more
Yes.
and because there's more space, you can kind of do something kind of cooler with it.
And because you have the same pedals, you're like, well, I need to use this pedal more than once in my set. It's exactly what we spoke about. Like, oh, that guy has a one-trick pony, and I'm like, no, I want to use it differently every.
We've definitely discussed this where it's like, all right, if you're gonna have it, then you better use it. Otherwise you can't justify keeping it around.
Yeah.
Again, the coffin-sized pedal board, and the guy hits two of them, and you're like, what are you doing, dude? It's always a dude, by the way.
Like those aren't even plugged in. It's like having Marshall, half stacks that are like empty in the background. Like
right, yeah, the
what?
faux
Like,
Marshall.
that's just for show. Like what the hell?
What was this? 1974? What's happening right now?
It's weird.
Crap Circles.
Crap Circles to me is my favorite song off the album. I love the song title. I think
that's great.
Super witty, like from Justin's brain. I was like, crop circles, crap circles. This is genius. In my brain, I'm like, yes. He has a habit of like talking about like, but does it fart and all these like fart jokes and sort of. He really wants to make it, a fun band, entertaining, funny. Have a little bit of comedy to it, to not take it.
Locust was the same way. There's a certain sardonic malevolence kind of reverency to it.
Such heavy music that a little bit of the lightheartedness goes a long way. And I think I had that riff for a little bit. I recorded a lot of just voice memo riffs, and and they're just maybe all trash, but eventually Scott will start playing something like, oh, remember this? And I think it's the catchiest. I also like Justin does this thing for the chorus, and I suggested at the end of the song where we just repeat the one line, which was me just smells like Teen Spirit's A Denial.
Right.
That same concept.
Yep.
Like, repeat crap in the pool, crap in the pool, crap in the pool. And we did it at the end of the song. I was like, that's a great outro. Done, And
people love repetition, man.
Yes. And so it became a thing where like, okay, this is the verse. We always have like a weird treble in Def Club, like where I'd be like, this riff to me is the chorus. This riff to me is the verse, this whatever. And then someone will say like, that's totally not that. That's a bridge. And I'm like, how's that a bridge? It does it 3 times, like, I don't know. So
can I tell you this is hitting a little too close to home? Where it's like, this is definitely the chorus. What are you talking about? Like,
this is the chorus, man. Like, I don't know.
Why? What are you singing there? I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. Don't worry about it.
And so when the lyrics aren't there yet, and because the first album is more like, it's almost like an art piece where like every verse might have different lyrics, which of course verses do in my mind, but then the choruses also have different lyrics. There was a point where I was like, hey, we should just delete all these lyrics and have like, this is our chorus, and then just repeat it and then do this, and because then it becomes something that we could always do constantly and not have to think of like, oh, your verse, your chorus, your second verse, your second chorus.
This is the one where it does something totally different. Yeah.
I'm like, no. So like, and then it became something where I was like, yeah, this is a great pop song in my mind. And I started thinking, oh, we could write pop music essentially, like in our way.
Your version of it. Sure,
yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Which is, it's not, is it going to sound like ABBA? Not really, but.
No. Yeah. Is it going to be a diamond fucking record, platinum record? No.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, but it's like, compared to like cattle decapitation or something, it's going to,
yeah.
It's going to hit a little different.
But I appreciate even Sonic Youth. Like I'd be like, songs like Sugarcane or 100%. I'm like,
sure.
Oh, there's definitely hooks in there, and there's definitely choruses, and there, like so.
Dirty is a great record. Like it was so maligned at the time. Like, oh, they're just.
It's one of my favorites.
Writing songs. I was like, yeah, they're writing songs, man. It's okay. It's pretty rad.
It was phenomenal.
Pre-jam era, where it's like some of the jammy stuff is like, oh my god, okay, I get it, But I'm not a big Grateful Dead guy, so it's like, all right, Diamond Sea was cool, but like,
20 minutes. I'm like,
we don't need one of those every record. I'm sorry, like do whatever you want to do, but it's enough. Pain in the assery.
That was another witticism of Justin's for that song title. I think the song was just like pretty straightforward. I feel like at this point, like my life was sort of colliding with the record store in the sense that I was like Aliens, and MF Doom, Mothership Connection, Funkadelic, sort of all these different references towards aliens and spaceships and stuff. And so then Crap Circles, Pain in the Assery, all these songs started having sort of like cool lyrics about Mars and being an alien, and I took that a lot again from Nirvana, which was when I was an alien. And I was like, oh yeah, we could speak about these other things because it's sort of
the context is different, right?
Yes, and we also do these things. Obviously, the next one would be biblical loopholes. So like obviously we talk about religion, we talk about this, but I felt like let's do a basic punk song and almost Pixies-esque like, and the chorus is really good too, where he does this call and repeat. He says million, billion, trillion cells, and so like we sort of mimic him, and I feel like we're getting more in a groove with vocal patterns and lyrics with Justin, which is always fun for me. Just because I wanted it, like, oh, the guitar is pretty simple. I could add whatever you need me to do. So that was,
and like Invoking Parliament, Funkadelic, and whatnot. I mean, I was just thinking about on this tour we just did. We were driving through from Missoula to Boise, so we're going through like rural Idaho, blasting clones of Dr. Funkenstein. It's like, and it's just like, wow, this is like a town of like 50 people. They probably wouldn't, this is like an actual alien invasion if they were paying attention,
Absolutely, yeah.
But I think that sensibility comes through in a way that's interesting for people that are interested in musical composition and groove and things along those lines. That fast music can totally have that. It's not.
Yep.
Now, granted, tempo can be a harsh mistress sometimes. Like you're like, oh, the groove's gone now suddenly. Okay, but
there were ways in there that we were like, okay, we could play fast, but we need to have groove. We need to have a rhythm. Like, on stage I move a lot. But we have a lot of Spanish rhythms and stuff, and some of the other songs as well. And so it became like, how do we play this without being just a straight grind band that just blasts?
Just blasting it out, yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like there's so many good, drummers that could do grind and blast, and there's so many good guitarists that could do 16th notes. But how do you do that with a dial-up modem sound? How do you do that with this?
Right, yeah. And how do you do it with in a way that hasn't been done 1,000 times before, too? Which isn't to say that you always have to be like, reinventing the wheel or anything, but just it's nice to be able to add something new to the bouillabaisse, right?
Yeah, there's definitely people that are like, this is not this, and this is not that, and I don't know what it is, so I don't like it, and that's totally fine.
Great, listen to something else, no problem.
Yeah, but like I don't know. I've seen a million hardcore bands sound like a million hardcore bands, and everyone wants to sound like either Bad Brains or Black Flag, and I'm just like, cool, but that existed, Yeah,
those records I already have those records.
Yeah. And like I don't know that you have anything new to add to it, but some people do.
Just like a more white bread version of that. Great, just what the world needed. Awesome. Yeah. So let's talk about Biblical Loophole. So
Biblical Loophole, that song had been maybe in the set the longest. We had already recorded it for the first for the EP with Tourette's. We did it in Brooklyn with Daniel Schlett. And Jenna from Here's Collective.
Right, yeah.
They're a huge Nirvana fan as well, and nice. We talked about Divine and John Waters and Nirvana and all this stuff, so we bonded a lot. And
they were not on my radar until like, I don't know, a year and a half ago or something. I don't know. I just like missed them. I don't know.
And it's so much fun live, and touring with them was also just phenomenal. They're great people. And I think we were just there, and Justin said, I was on Jenna's record, so I'm going to hit up Jenna, see if they want to sing on these tracks. And they just showed up, and they're like, oh, these are the lyrics? Okay, cool. And they just did it with us. And then because we did it all in one day while it was raining in Brooklyn, and we just did the two songs, everyone was like, oh, we should re-record that song now that we're more comfortable with it or whatever. and so we redid it for the album, and it's slightly different. It has like an extra instrumental breakdown in the middle. Doesn't have Jenna on it anymore. I do the vocals on it now with Justin, but it was interesting to see how that song developed, you know.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And there's a different, you know, it's got a different feel. It's got a different,
yeah.
Everything is just fine as far as that goes. As far as being original kind of stuff.
Yeah, sometimes you get to the studio and then you're like, oh, I'm going to do this. And you completely forget that you were going to do something. So, you know, on the first time, it sounds different than this one because now we're more comfortable with how we played it live.
Sure. Well, isn't that really the thing too, right? Where it's like, oh yeah, now its secrets have been unveiled. Now that it lives in an environment beyond just playing the one time. I guess that was good. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Move
you
on.
Assume everything that you do during a recording is what you should have done, and then you discover, oh, you completely missed the boat. Song, you know, and you feel it different because you see like people's energy. And you feel like, oh, that part actually doesn't work this way. It should be moved here or whatever, you know.
And it exists in a space, right? It exists in a space, and that always is going to hit different than than with recording. And that's something I struggle with. We like record and release these songs and then play them live usually. And sometimes it's like, oh,
yeah,
right, okay. So this is now. I kind of wish I would have known this ahead of time. But
yeah, absolutely.
But it's, you know, it's just a different way of doing it. I'm not saying it's bad.
You discover things about yourself live that you're like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. Or I should do that.
I'm just doing this, and that is great. Okay, awesome. I was way overthinking this. This was something that was I was making this calculus, and it's really just 5 + 5 is 10. Okay, great. Or so I hear. Vinegar, Soap, and Holy Water is the next song.
This one was fun because I played this thing called the Astral Whip. It's Electro Faustus makes it, and it's like a big plastic tube that you sort of swing, and then that captures the air. And the faster that you swing it, the higher the pitch goes. It's based like on like the Australian, I think it's called the bullhorn.
Whatever it is, I used to have one, and I don't know where I got. I do know where I got it. I got it from my uncle, who was like a station over there or something, and so he got me. I was, what is this thing? And I lost it like an idiot kid, of course, but it was great. It's
a real simple instrument. It's just based on how the air, how fast you go, and that's the pitch, and it has a little mic in it, and so. I was like, I want to use this eventually on a song.
Oh, that's so rad. So it's like an electric version of that. That's
yeah.
That kicks ass. I love it.
And Scott wanted to do this sort of drum intro, and we were talking about congas and sort of adding percussion. And so we started adding percussion to this thing, and it became sort of a completely different vibe for a Def Club song. It's also the first song that was written sort of entirely by our bassist, Jason. He wrote these sort of cool chords, and it became like this weird, it's in 3/5, it's in this, and so like these weird timings. And
he's a great player. He's got a real interesting feel. I like
it was really fun because at this point I was just like, hey, can someone else write the songs? Just because I felt like, you have a little bit of like imposter syndrome or something, like you're just like,
everything's coming from me, and it's all like it's this way, and it's like, it all sounds the same, and it doesn't sound the same at all. But
it doesn't. It probably doesn't. To a lot of people, but to me, I'm just like, I already used this, and I was like, you write something, and it came out completely different, and it felt like I was adding my guitar to something that was unique.
Yeah. He's
and then Justin wrote some really good lyrics. So throw me to the wolves, I'll just pet them.
That's a good one.
They will help me howl a modern hymn, and I was like, that's a chorus, dude. And I was like, so it's visually a really good lyrical song, and Jason wrote it, and it has these Spanish sort of things in it, and these weirdo intros and a breakdown. So it's pretty unique for us, I think.
Jason, I guess I probably shouldn't dox him. Maybe I'll edit it out. I don't know. But he works with Dusty, who plays with me, which I was cool. which was great. So like when I saw you guys at Caterwall, like I took a picture and like it was, both of us, and then sent it to her. She thought that was great.
But, he knows everyone. It's funny because whenever we go to like each town, there's like someone we call the mayor, I'm like,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Jason's the mayor of Arizona and Justin's the mayor of San Diego. And
Yeah.
we mock each other like in that way, like, oh.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, Mr. Mayor. Okay. Yeah.
Mr.
Gotta pay my respects.
like, oh, how many guest lists do you have today? Like, oh shit, everyone in this little town.
Yeah. Exactly. This guy's got a +6. What's going on here?
I know people here. We're in the middle of nowhere, so it's fun. It's interesting.
Counterfeit coins. Cool video for this one as well.
Yes.
I enjoyed that greatly.
Yeah, somebody made that, I think, just randomly and sent it to us. It was like, or like, this is great. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I mean, it's got that. Like I always think of like Liquid Television. And like that kind of. We're just like, here's just a bunch of freaky stuff in a show.
Yeah.
Like great. I mean, and it's crazy that like now, nowadays fire up YouTube, you can find any old thing. But at the time, I was like, wow, what is that? What am I looking at? It's like crazy stop motion thing.
Yes, when people create like these claymation stop motion, I'm like, that must have taken forever. How did you do that? Like, and also just to do it because you like the song.
Because you like it. Just because I like it.
It's like, hey guys, check this out. We had another video where it was just like on our first EP where it was just a crab and it was holding a knife.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's on YouTube somewhere. We never actually like used it officially, but someone made it. And then the crab takes out some guy's eye and ends up holding it at the end or whatever. And I was like, that's badass, dude. Like, it's just weird, I think this one, we just wanted to get a little grindy with it, a little bit weird with it. There's a lot of like, it's like, all right, Scott, you need to chill on this song. And then on this song, it's going to be just brutal. And then chill on this song and then brutal. And this one was the brutal ones, but it was like a grind in 3/4. So like there's a couple of songs like Bright Side of Death on our first EP where we do a grind and waltz timing,
Yeah, it's right because it's got that kind of yeah, but it's like it's sped up. Yeah. You're right.
Like, okay, how do we do this and how do you accent it? And it's just because usually when you grind it's just all 16ths and 4s and you're like, okay. So we try to make it weird, and then it had like a weird breakdown in the middle of it where the guitar kind of goes off, and then Justin comes in and does his thing for this big cool bridge. So that one's maybe, I think it was Counterfeit Coins, Frequency Illusion, and Biblical Loophole that were sort of in the set, have been in the set for a bit
as live songs.
Yes. Yeah. So it has a little bit more like, okay, I figured that out.
Right. You cracked the code.
Yeah. Exactly.
Frequency Illusion Master.
So Frequency Illusion, I don't know why it says Master. Maybe I got to take that out. It's just Frequency Illusion, but
yeah, I was gonna say I
maybe just
that didn't say that on mine, but I don't have mine to put on the screen, so I can't.
No,
it's upstairs.
I'm gonna have to tell Justin. And
we'll just say Frequency Illusion. I'll white it out.
Yeah. This one had like a weird harmonic thing that I did at the beginning, right? But I did it with like a reverse guitar pedal, and I really wanted it. It was almost like a slint, kind of,
yes,
with these harmonics going on, and so it was like tricking the audience into thinking like, oh, here's this like thing that's gonna happen, and then we just went left the field, right? And it's kind of like a balanced reality check where it's maybe 2 songs put together, where we have this whole first section, and then when we get to the end of the song, it has a and it has a real bouncy sort of thing, and it's because we did so much at the beginning section that Scott just wanted to. He's like, I just want to play
keep it super minimal,
and I was like, I just want to do this, and I have to figure out like, what do I do that makes it bounce and groove. And then that part is the part where everyone sort of freaks out and was like, fuck yeah, that's a good riff. And then we're like, all right, let's add a drum solo. And then how do I complement a drum solo? It's like, okay, I use an oscillating pedal and I just kind of follow him and mimic him.
This thing is kind of going nuts, but it's like controlled in a way that it's
it's
weird, going in and out kind of.
So I like that one a lot because it's like, here's this oscillating feedback delay thing, and here's this drum solo going off, and then we come back to this tight riff, and the riff has at this point, we started using the Line 6 FM4, which obviously the Locust uses a lot for the synth sound of the bass.
Sure. Yeah.
And so it had this synthy bass thing where I was going up the scale in weird, like step and a half, and I would flatten it, and then the bass would go all chromatic, which is a dorky thing. A lot of people probably checked out, but it's dorky.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, all right,
Save it for Modern Guitarist magazine.
Yes,
I'm kidding.
and so, so it was just like, here, do this chromatic thing while I do this non-chromatic thing, and while you go up, I go down, and we meet somehow at this note. And so we started to doing weird, interesting things like that, just to not follow each other.
Because it's surprising, because it's like, oh, that's okay, you know, that, oh, that's
yeah. Also, like, you don't want the root note of the bass to be like, oh, we're all going up together. And it's like, no, you're going to do this thing, and we're going to cross. And so it became a weird, interesting riff at the end of it that we all really love to hit live, because it's just like, wow, that's actually interesting, like, even for us. You know?
Yeah, it hits a little different. Sure, absolutely. Yeah. Liquidate the Living Body.
Liquidate the Living Body. I think this one and All Hot Dogs, I had like these riffs in my voice memo. We might have had these for a while. I'm sure we still have a lot of different versions of them as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just became one of these songs that, I don't know. I think these two songs were just the ones that, for me personally, I think I did too much. You know?
Really? Okay.
I was like, oh, this could be this could be that, but I don't think I ever got them to be maybe as weird as I wanted. But yeah, lyrically, I like it. It has it started becoming this thing where, like, on other songs, I had the chromatic scales. And so Jason, I think, maybe called me out on it. It was like, oh, that's a Def Club riff because you do the same climbing up structure.
Right.
And I was like, oh, motherfucker. And I was like, okay. So then
does that immediately make you want to, like, not do that and do something really different?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I did it with Ride with
First of all, how dare you? Secondly, you're right.
Yeah, secondly, thank you, sir. You know,
right, exactly.
Because, you know, you can become very complacent and sort of
Oh yeah,
like,
man.
Oh, this is how I write, and it's like yeah, but you don't have to. So it gave me different chord structures to do, and so I had to, because they were written not so long ago, but like longer in the mix. I got called out on it, and I was like, okay, I have to change riff B or riff C or whatever.
And to not do that specific thing.
Not do that specific thing.
Yeah.
And it gave me a different bag of, like, a different set of tools, you know, in my bag. So I'm like, oh, okay, like I could do this now. And then I started writing songs based on that, you know. So now I could add it to my sort of list of stuff.
Can I tell you, it was that exact sort of thing that led me to take the one and only guitar lesson I've taken my entire life 3 years ago, which is just like, look, I can do this all day long, twice on Tuesdays for the rest of my life. People seem to be into this enough, but it's not enough for me. I want to get out of the box for this.
Yes, you have. Yeah, it's these sort of structure, and I was thankful for it because I did it originally when I first started, you know, playing Def Club. I was like, oh, I need to get out of this. I need to, instead of playing the power chord, I want to do a flatted chord so that it sounds like it has tension. I want to do these minor fourths. So I thought of it very specifically. How do I sound different than every band I've ever been in? And how do we sound different from every band they've ever been in? You know?
Right, because you're not just talking about sounding different from other bands, but you're sounding like different from yourself because you're trying to push yourself. And that's... You know, it's harder than it sounds sometimes. And sometimes it's easy. It just depends.
It is. Yeah.
But it requires thought.
Yes. Because I could go to a pentatonic scale any day. I could do whatever, you know. But then, we've already put out this amount of material. And so, like, how do people expect you to sound a certain way? But it's like, how do I sound like myself, but also say, you know, fuck my old self, you know? And
right, I've already done that. I'm doing something different now. Now I'm doing this.
I think Scott spoke about it too on Frequency Illusion when we had to do the drum solo, where he had like a bit of an ego death of like, oh, I thought I could do everything that I knew how to do, but then I had to write this drum solo, and I was like at a loss of like how to create this or whatever, how to approach it. And sometimes, you know, those voice memos, when I record to my phone, I'm just like, well, that was crap. Like, I don't know why you did that. That's exactly like this song or whatever, you know? And I might not hear it, but someone else in the band will be like, "Yeah, we've done that." I'm like, "All right." Yeah.
And context can be everything. I mean, listen to that, that Jesus Lizard song that Mac does, that great fill, that da da da, and it was just like he couldn't think of anything to play.
Yeah.
and it was like that's like one of the best, like most minimal drum fills like in rock and roll. And like he was like, I can't think anything. I don't know. I guess I'll just do this.
They stick. There's a lot of things where I'm like, oh, that's a hook drum wise. That's a hook bass wise. That's a hook. But,
yes.
Not thinking about it like, if the guitar is really dissonant, how do you make a hook out of something else?
That's important. Like there's a musicality to it, right? And that's why it goes back to what I was saying about like your freaky noises compliment. There's a musicality to them rather than just being like chaos.
Yeah. And usually, if there's chaos, who is the steady, the line through behind it, which is the bass or the drums or whatever. And so the chaos you can kind of ignore if it's out of key, or ignore if it's out of this, if it's out of perfect timing, because some of these pedals don't have tap tempos on them or whatever. So you're just like, yeah, I think
it's going to do what I think it's going to do what it's going to do.
It's the speed at which it does. I think there's Jeff Barrow's band, who used to be in Portishead. He was in a band called Beak. Yeah. And he has this, the bass player has this one pedal that has like it's a Japanese pedal. I forget the name of it. And it has an arpeggiator on it. And I saw them play the thing live, and he goes, I've never actually played this song with that well in timing, because the pedal kind of does whatever it wants to do.
Yeah.
If I hit the wrong at the note at the wrong time, it'll throw the rhythm off.
It's good, dude. Everything's jacked up. Yeah.
So it's like, oh, I hope this works. So.
Yeah. That's the fun. That's the fun of it. That's how it's played by real people,
honestly,
not AI.
And my pedal board is built on the fact that like I might hit the wrong pedal at the wrong time because they're so tightly compressed. So I put all my distortions together, all my ring mounts together, all my delays pedal, because if I hit a delay, it's going to be a delay. They might be a short slapback or whatever, or a long one, but I won't mess it up completely. And so sometimes your foot nudges a setting, and then you hit that pedal, and you're like, what did I do?
Sometimes maybe you have an Echo simulator that you turned on for a noise effect and you forgot to turn back down. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a wild idea that never has happened to me in real life recently.
Oh, no, never.
Well, it's like, oh, right.
We're full-on professionals.
Yeah, first of all, how dare you? Secondly, okay, got me. Awesome. Well, and that is sort of, and that's embracing the plus signs of these individual, like, usually handcrafted devices that are purpose built, but there's so many things that can go wrong with them if you sit there and try to control all of it. Like, well, why do it that way at all then if you're just going to be a control enthusiast about it?
Yeah. I think Nels Cline was also like one of these guys that like taught me, where if you're a tone snob, if you're a pedal snob, like sometimes you got to roll with accident. Sometimes it's not going to work. You're going to be unhappy, and again, it comes to like, I'm not Steve Vai. I'm not Malmsteen. I don't need the most pristine sound. And, I don't need this delay to be, the stuff that they do.
Nels Cline is that dude is such an interesting player. And I keep forgetting that he's in Wilco, like, because I don't pay attention to that band. Like, it doesn't quite. I'm like, oh yeah, he's in that like really huge band everyone loves, and I'm like, oh yeah. But the Nels Cline singers though,
yeah, I absolutely love Nels Cline singers. I love all his solo stuff.
He's such a
Banyan with Stephen Perkins.
Oh yeah. Perkins and Watt, right? If I remember right. Yeah,
I love a lot of like sort of like free jazz shit. Like I use a lot of those weird notes sometimes because he was such an influence, and he played with Sonic Youth 2 and a bunch of stuff. He played with Lee Ronaldo, and so I was like, wow, this is really interesting that this jazz guy is a punk guy.
Totally. Did you ever mess around with Geraldine Fibbers, that band he had with Carla in the 90s?
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, that blew me away. I was like, because their record before Butch was like cool, but it was like kind of country-ish. Like, oh yeah, this is cool. It was like, it's kind of weird because like I know Carla from Ethel Meatplow, and they were so crazy, and it sounds like country music. And then like they came out with that one, I was like, oh, this kills. This is great. I was like, this is going to be huge. It wasn't, but I thought it was.
I love that he does that kind of. He could go from acoustic sort of stuff to jazz, like punk stuff, but he also had like, the the 16-second delay electro.
And yeah, the expression, he's the first person I see use an expression pedal in that way too, where it's like, oh man, that's like really cool.
There's so many weird things. I was like, oh, those chords are nasty, and I could you
Yeah.
know, do them with heavier distortion, and it would sound funky, you know. And so
Yeah.
he was never afraid. And then Wilco, I loved watching, you know, him. Glenn also is a great drummer, and say they created all sort of the experimental world within like Yankee Hotel Foxtrot.
Yeah, right. Like within these more conventional songs, he's like doing all this like nutty stuff that like makes it, even if the non-musicians listening to it aren't necessarily going to be fixating on that. It's something that's like, oh, that's kind of interesting and cool.
And also that album won like Grammys and stuff. I'm like, what the hell? Like, it's so like left of field compared to Uncle Tupelo or something. You know,
I should listen to that again. I don't know why. I don't know why. I just have like a weird blind spot with that band. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen them live a handful of times, and I was just always blown away. And then I do like Jeff Tweedy's sort of lyricism, and I think all the you know, the music is mellow, and so you don't think of it as like oh, this is experimental or like this is you know, heavy or nothing. But like some of it is like really out of like just left field, and I'm like, wow, I did do that, you know. Like,
yeah, and that's almost kind of like more impressive when it's like on that level of just you know, I could name some other bands that like maybe don't take as many chances, where it's like you could really do anything you wanted to, and you just chose to do the most boring thing possible.
You make the same record over and over and over.
Some people that's enough for them, I guess. I don't know, but anyway, all hot dogs are inbred.
You know, Justin being witty, inbred. Being an inbred person and
EAD versus BRED. I get it. It's wordplay.
Because the visualness of it. And then he had like an actual hot dog lyric for his, you know, he said something about hot dog for a spine. And I was like, I thought I was hilarious.
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, had some like weird little guitar parts in there that I thought were interesting. But there's a lot of like riffage in it that I always thought was maybe harkens back to some of the old Def Club stuff.
Yeah, not like as a throwback, but having that same sort of energy, right? I can hear that.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Sort of a little bit more, because there's definitely songs where you're like, oh, this one is like verse, chorus, whatever. It's linear within its own thing. And then there's ones like, oh, that was interesting that they didn't go back to that, or they went to this for, you know, we'd always have discussions about certain songs where he'd be like, yeah, we should, Scott or Justin or someone would be like, that should only happen once. We should do one bar. And I'm like, that's so weird to me, you know? You know, but
it's almost like you're punishing the listener or something, right? Yeah.
And also I'm like, why wouldn't you make it like, you know, if you make it 2 bars or 4 bars, then someone could at least absorb it.
There's something for someone to grab onto, right?
Yeah.
Oh, what a wild concept. Yeah.
And, but also it's part of our, you know, sort of the ADHD, sort of like the phone, you know, we have to be on stuff constantly. We have to distract each other, ourselves, you know, and so sometimes there's riffs where I'm just like, yeah, here comes riff 5 for no reason.
Yeah.
You know, they're fun to play. You know, they're physically fun to play because they're a challenge. They're like, oh yeah, this comes out of left field. The tempo changes, you know, and I think
it's not ever going to be boring.
Yeah.
Right, because you're sitting there and it's like, all right, now it's doing this other thing. Now we're over here now we're doing this.
Yeah.
Okay, great. You know, I mean, that's nothing wrong with that, but it's definitely an aesthetic choice for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's that can cut both ways. Closed fist, closed minds. Tell me about that one.
This one used to be, we have the dumbest names for things when we first start writing songs. And this one I think was called Spooky Dracula.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. Some of our, we're like, this song is called Big Guy, Little Guy. This guy, you know. Like
sure. Yeah.
Scott and I do these things, and I'm just like, all right, but it sticks in our head. It's just a way to stick in our head. And yeah, I think I had like sort of this this guitar octave sound that sounded almost like an organ, and so it was like a weird spooky thing. And I might have been using like a Pog or a.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I use my whammy as well, but like there's 2 different octaves, so if you stack them both together, it sounds even more.
It's craziness. Yeah. It's absolute insanity.
It's like, oh, we're gonna put this octave pedal and then octave that octave pedal, but it because they're so slightly out of tune to each other, they're not really, you know.
It just makes us like, it sounds like robots dying or having sex. I don't know. There's something.
Yeah. I love robots and aliens and things like that. And I'm just like, it's future dystopia the music is future dystopian sort of things. Like, how would this sound if, unfortunately, like AI, taking over, but like there's all these like weird sounds. And I think this one was, when we first recorded it, Justin had an idea on the vocals and I wasn't too happy about it. And I argue with people a lot about things. Not argue, like I want to hear what their take is and why they do certain things. And so like we were discussing it, and eventually he redid it completely, and he came back with this great chorus, which I love on the thing. And so I love that he and I will argue about things, but we will eventually come to a resolution of how we feel like, oh, this is actually great now, like this is, and we push each other,
Right. You were a band. You banded together for the thing.
Yeah. We're trying to do the best thing for what the song calls. And sometimes we all think that we know,
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's part of it. And I think even on this album with Scott and even with I was just like, oh, I should be more open to people criticizing and saying like, no, let's change that. And so I expect everyone else to do it, and it's great when it actually works. And this is actually a really good song that happened on. But it's also a phenomenal song. I really want to play this one live pretty soon. So.
Yeah, and that's always nice when it's like, wow, that's cool. I want to play that. That's always a nice feeling, instead of like, I guess we can do this one,
Because sometimes you do it and you're like, I don't know that I want that anymore.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Is it a filler song? And it sucks to have filler songs on an album.
Do you feel like if you can't play or if you don't have any interest in playing a song live, it's a filler song?
Sometimes, but because we all have different perspectives on the music, we'll be like, I really hate that song, or it changes month to month.
You burn out on, you're like, I'm sick of playing this one.
I'm sick of this song. And actually, you listen to the album again. It's like, I was actually listening to our old album on the way home, and this song is really good. And I don't know why we ever played it. It's like,
why am I mad at it?
Want to?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Somebody was mad about it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, because I think it sucks. And they're like, well, you're wrong, Brian. I'm like, all right. And then we play it, and it's phenomenal. And everyone
totally kills. Yeah.
So it's interesting to watch that always.
Well, and that's where you just got to be kind of open to the world a little bit, right? Otherwise, you're doing the people you are working with, the listener, and yourself a disservice. But it's really easy to get stuck in your own your viewpoint.
Yeah, you never know. It could be someone's favorite song on an album, and you're just like, oh yeah, like you never want to admit like, oh, I just shit that out. Like,
I don't think about that one even.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I really, really hate that one, and they're like, damn, that's a bummer, like. But
I mean, that's I've had where people are like, oh, that's just a rip off of band whatever.
Yeah, I think we made a point to not put anything that we were going to shit on real hard.
Right. Well, and that's. Yeah, because it's like that. Well, that was the big '90s thing, right? What's the song that sounds nothing like the band, the novelty song? Because that's what's going to be like your biggest hit. So like, be careful.
Yeah, it's random. And also, we do have that where like, I think Jason or someone will be like, they'll make reference to like, this song sounds like this, and I love it because Jason just comes up with like the worst shit. I mean. I shouldn't say that, but he'll be like, "Oh, that song sounds like not a real band." He didn't ever say U2, but it sounds like U2, or
something that you don't care for that makes you like, oh. I mean,
people that we might know, but like it sounds like this band, it sounds like that band, or whatever. And then Justin will ultimately be like, "Oh my god, I don't ever want to play this song again," because now he'll be like, "Oh, that sounds like Tool," and we'll be like, "What?" And I'll be like, "No, it doesn't." And he's the one that's adamant about it, and then everyone else is like, that kind of turns us off now.
Right. Well, you don't want to sound too much like another thing anyway, but especially if it's something you don't like.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, God, that's.
But it's pretty hilarious because like that's not at all what it sounds like, dude. But okay.
It's just what he's hearing. Yeah. Well,
he almost does it on purpose, I think. Just to like make us cringe.
Right. Absolutely. End of an Ear, last song on the record. Tell me how that one.
End of an Ear. This song has been around forever. I mean, forever. It was based on this drum loop that Scott wanted to do, which is throughout the whole song, throughout the whole verse. he wanted to do this drum loop pattern where he said, I'm just going to do this drum loop and it's going to make my life a lot easier. And it's going to be, a super simple song to play. And of course, every time we play it, it's the song that he despises the most now because it's just like,
because it's
like,
super repetitive. You got you probably zone out.
And I'm like, why do you think that was easy? And so he said, yeah,
it seemed easy at the time.
Yes. And so he wanted to loop this thing, and I just hit my glitch pedal, my hold pedal, and it did this thing where in the background it's like just doing this noise, and then I could play a guitar on top of it. In this song, because it's so old, I had very specific leads and sounds and all this stuff, and it was just not working. It was just not working. It was like one of the hardest songs to write for us. It's also the longest song, and to be honest, Justin just was not feeling it. He was like, yeah, I don't want to sing on this. Maybe it could be instrumental. Maybe you guys get another singer on this song, and it became like, oh, okay, well, I don't want to do that. Like, we're a band. Let's figure it out.
Figure out how we're going to do it.
Figure out how we're going to do it. And then he said, well, he loved the drums, he loved the bass, and he did not like the guitar.
That's funny.
So, it became sort of, again, an ego death where we're sitting there in the studio. I'm just looking at my hands going like, I don't know what to do. I've played this song for, almost a year and a half or something, like trying to figure out the correct thing.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, it's in this key. I could do these weird chords here. And I hit this pedal, which has like a slight delay to it. And it sounds wobbly, which I love a lot. Like
the wobble.
Yeah, it's almost like your guitar's drunk.
Yeah, totally.
it's not quite a univibe or a chorus. Or it's very much, obviously Tropical Fuck Storm.
Yeah. Where it sounds like it's like a record's been left out in the sun or something for some reason. Yeah.
And I like that warp sound a lot.
Yeah.
Especially with messed up chords because it sounds even worse.
Mm-hmm.
And it's right there, Tropical Fuck Storm.
Yeah. I was gonna say that's. I did not get to see them this last go round, which is
they were great. Yeah,
but we played with them 2019, I think. It was amazing.
Nice. I love them.
And Gaz and Erica both been on the show.
Yeah, I was checking out the Erica one too last time.
She's a badass. ModCon is a great band.
Yes, I love ModCon, Palm Springs.
The whole Tropical Fuckstorm family is wonderful.
Yes, my wife and I saw them in Barcelona and in
fantastic.
So we've traveled and seen them a lot. And I figured out this song, and then it was kind of like this gothy song to begin with.
Right.
It was punkish, and then eventually I just hit one chord, and then I was just strumming that chord for a little bit on top of the loop, and Justin was like, "That's it, that's great," and I was like, "Okay," and then it became the song that it is, which is phenomenal because I love the song. And it just became one of those things where I was like, when you become stuck in what you want to do, you don't have the room for growth, And it was another moment where I was like, I should listen to when someone is listening, telling me, hey, I don't particularly like, what you're doing. And without ego, just try something different, because there's so many different things you could try.
Absolutely. Well, and that's something where, again, that's getting out of your own way sometimes. It sounds easier than it is, especially if you care.
And you have to think like we're a band, so everybody should be happy with what we do together. It shouldn't be like, oh, you're happy with this song, but everyone else hates it. It's like, I've been in bands like that. I've been in bands where people have been like, hey, you need to, I want to have this part. I want to have this guitar part, and you can't tell me what to change it for other bands, And I would be playing bass, and I'm like, but that guitar sucks.
Right.
And then you have an album that you don't entirely love, And
that's the worst,
And I think because this song had been around forever, and it's our longest, and it's so different, and Nihilism became such a quote unquote hit for us, meaning we loved it so much. It was so different. There was like, we want to bookend this album in this way. And for a long time, I didn't want this song to be on the album.
Because you just thought it didn't fit? Or?
I thought it didn't fit. There's 11 songs. I was like, we should just do 5 and 5 on each side, sort of like this thing, and there was a particular lyric that I didn't want, and Justin was like, no, I'm having it. And so we had a bunch of discussions like, no, we're not going to release it. And eventually, they convinced me like, okay, like I get it. And yeah, we did it. So.
Nice. There you go. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a strong opener, strong ender on the record. So there you go. I got to be over here.
I was always a fan of those things where like, territorial pissings and like this ends with poly, this ends with something in the way, so like you end with mellow songs, you do this is side A, this is side B. And so thinking about that, I was like, end of an era is a good way to close an album.
Yeah, it's a different vibe, right? And that's something where it's like, okay, you've taken a journey, you've come to the end.
Yes.
Never mentioned name of the record. We demand a permanent state of happiness. Bold statement. Where did that come from? And that's
it's from an old man, I can't even remember the name now. It's from an old folk singer.
Okay.
Something about we demand something about capitalism as a female folk singer, and now I'm blanking on the name, which I should have thought about. But it was originally the artwork was just supposed to be no name, no Def Club, just the album title.
Mm-hmm.
I think when we get the actual physical ones, it'll just be a sticker on it with the name or whatever. And we had pictures of Justin had a friend who had pictures of broken guns, or had broken guns, and they went to go take pictures. And that kind of also became like, I thought we were just going to do, we wanted to do kind of like a Blue Note jazz, just like really cool font, like really just words, And then when the image came, we were kind of like, we don't want to put guns on it, because then people get this mistake of like, gun culture, this, that.
Right. People just take on the face of it. It's this thing. Okay.
It's obviously a broken gun, so they know where we stand on it. But, sometimes I think because going for religion or going for guns or going for, conservative mindsets, it's so easy to poke at them. It's like, maybe we just do something less, obvious. But then the more that I sat with it, I was like, no, obvious is good, because you have to speak out about things, So visually it should represent something that you still believe in. And, it worked out, ultimately. Also, again, just getting out of my own way, because I could be
overthinking it. Yeah, it's also just like a cool image, whatever.
Yes.
It's a thing to put on the record.
Sometimes I'm like, yeah, man, like, I gotta think of all the layers, like even naming Spinning Plate Records, my record store was just like, Territorial Pissings, Mothership Connection, MF Doom, Doctor.
Right. You're overthinking it. Yeah.
So many layers, and then I'm spinning plates and I'm doing it. It's like, I was like, sometimes it's just cool to have a good name and like, or whatever, And but I get in my head a lot, so that's how I work, and it's probably really frustrating.
Well, I mean, I think the results are good, at least. So whatever the journey to get there, and the results are cool. I think it's an interesting record, and it's definitely the one I think that has the most hooks to it and the most sort of stuff there for people that maybe didn't know the band before, or maybe or don't even know the genre necessarily. I think there's a lot there for people to pick up on, but there's a lot to love if you do. So I think that's a lovely thing.
Yeah, I feel good about this one the most. I feel like it's just progress. People need to progress with their bands, with their music. Not leave necessarily anything behind, but explore.
Absolutely, and the bands that haven't done that, it's like, okay, we all like the Ramones and AC/DC, but it's like, all right, that's them. They should be the exception that proves that rule, because, and even then, I don't know. I adore AC/DC, but there's maybe one good album in like the past 20 years. I have like one song. Each of them, it's like, and that's being charitable, frankly. But
if we ever put that in the van, it's immediate cringe from Justin. He goes, "It sounds like a witch." It's like,
see, the only AC/DC we ever listened to on tour is like Power Ridge, or like old Bon Scott stuff. And I hate to pull that card, but that's what I want to listen to. It's like I'll hear Back in Black, just like whatever at the Applebee's that we're stopping at, or something. Maybe not Applebee's, but you know what I mean when I say that.
Sure, yeah. I think it's funny because even on tour life, you have so many influences, and when you get the aux cord, man, you could ruin someone's day, dude.
Oh, dude, yes.
I think Jason is the one, the culprit, because he'll put like, some ska. He'll put so, when
It's a harsh joke, man. Yeah.
When Tommy was in the band, he would put, like Ghost, which I thought, like, oh, imagery wise, they're supposed to be real cool. And then I heard it, I was like, this sounds like Christian metal. Like I was like, I don't get it.
It's not for me.
I didn't get it, and I still don't. But the image and the music don't make sense to me. And
I like some weird ambient stuff. Sometimes I'll throw that on. People like, this is really bumming me out. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
Sorry, I forgot.
Yeah.
I forgot how long this record is.
I like driving with like songs like that. Where
me too, but
like, I'm gonna fall asleep. This actually keeps me awake because I'm paying attention, like to the thing. I'm thinking about the next thing. But it's funny just giving the aux cord to people and watching anyone either ruin someone's day or like someone uplifting them and go like, oh, cool, thank you for that.
Check out this amazing thing that you never heard. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah,
it's great.
What else is on deck for Def Club coming up this fall and so on?
We have a couple tour offers that I think we're gonna hopefully take for November. I think we have a couple shows in December. Again, they're not announced yet, but they're gonna be good shows. We just got a new booking agency anniversary group. So hopefully that'll start coming in with a lot of shows. I think we want to do Europe again next year. Hopefully Japan, because Japan's amazing. We just went, right?
It was pretty fucking rad, dude. Like I gotta say, like one of those things is like, this is as rad as it.
Yeah. It's just amazing, going out there and like, oh, people care and people show up and people buy stuff and people like support you and like, oh.
And just like as a culture, it's just so different. It's like a culture of respect, which is so weird coming from America.
From America. I remember when I first toured. We did China, South Korea, and Japan.
Oh, fantastic!
And China was rough because it was like we had to take trains everywhere because it's huge. It's so huge. Yeah. And so you take trains and you load. Literally, we're like hauling, bags of merch and gear onto a train, and everyone's trying to board. And then, everyone smokes there and in the clubs, and so you just smell, and you smell like cigarettes, and then you're humid because it was like monsoon season.
It depends on when you go, right? Yeah.
And you go to South Korea, and they're like, "Let's eat and let's drink," and you guys are rad, and we're like, "Hell yeah!" And then you get to Japan, and everyone's super nice, and you're like, "This is great." And like you appreciate the different cultures that you visit, and you're like, oh, okay,
Touring by train is nuts. Like, I mean, it's something where it's like I was even ready for it, and I was still like, this is crazy. This is like such a different methodology than like when you come up just like playing punk music in the US. And it's like they're so militant about time too. It's like there's a 10-minute switchover, and then you just watch like whoosh, like they just descend and like, oh, it's just done. Oh
yeah,
okay. Oh, it's on us. We're the ones holding things. Oh, okay. Oh, my bad. All right, let's go.
And here you can't do any of that shit. You don't have trains to take you to Texas or wherever.
We could never in this country. God, I mean, if we did, that'd be amazing. But that would be
absolutely. It'd be much easier. You get cabins to sleep in, and not have to. I mean, with our van, which rest in peace, we sold on eBay.
I saw that. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it had 430,000 miles.
Yeah.
Once we hit the 420 mark, we're like,
woo, it's the pod number.
And it survived that long, and eventually we sold it, and it's wild because it had a loft in the back, so we could actually sleep while we were driving, and it was great. It's the Locust van, like since 2001 or something, and you never realize how good it is to be prostrate on a bed and or on a flat bed, just sleeping on top of stuff, because man, traveling is rough. People don't get it.
If you've not done it, it's like you have to really love it because the other parts of it are not glamorous at all.
No, not at all.
There's like that documentary about punk rock touring called "Why Am I Doing This?" and it's like, that's a perfect title for that. Why am I doing this? Absolutely. Especially as you get older.
We ask ourselves that all the time, and it's like, if you have a bad day, if you don't have coffee, if you don't have this, And then other people are like, why am I doing this with you? Like,
Yeah, exactly. Maybe you're just sick of seeing their face. Who knows? You know, it's like,
I have limits, like my 3-week mark, and I'm just like,
it's
oh,
important to respect personal boundaries,
Yes.
you know, and like I'm usually pretty good at being like, oh, they're in a mood. Okay, I'm just not gonna wide berth. They're gonna be over here, literally as far away from you as I can be without being outside the vehicle. Great.
Yeah. It's great getting to know people, you know.
Yeah.
Because it happens quick, you know. Like, okay.
And then you go on stage and it's like, oh, that's right.
Well, that's the
it
thing
all
that
works.
It's the thing we do the least. You know what I mean? Like, you
it
go
does
on
happen.
stage and you play 40 minutes.
I know, man.
You
It's
play
so absurd.
30 and you've practiced for months.
Yeah.
You've written things for months, and you've put out records, and you've driven for hours, and you've set up merch, and you've done everything, and you don't have enough sleep, and then you play for 30, 45, an hour, and you go, okay, cool, now I got to drive, 10 hours to the next spot. It's like most of our life is spent getting to the destination.
At gas stations and like, I mean, just like, oh my God, don't. Yeah. If you stop and think about it, it's like, why am I doing this?
It's great, and if you have like a certain amount of addiction, like in your midst of like cigarettes, or coffee or something, it's like I need a break. It's like, dude, we stopped 10 minutes ago. You need another cigarette, dude. We stopped, and you're like, you start getting real antsy. Like, we're never gonna get here.
I'm glad that I don't travel with smokers anymore, and I'm also glad that good coffee is much more readily available everywhere now. It used to be, it was like, all right, once we get out of the big city, stock up.
Yep.
Because it's Folgers Crystals from here on out.
It's wild.
Senka.
Yeah. I used to have my Coca-Cola addiction, where it's like, if I didn't get a Coca-Cola in the morning, a cold Coca-Cola in the morning and a Snickers bar or something, I was gonna be pissed. And then I've been drinking. I don't know if you were drinking Waterloo earlier or whatever.
It was a Polar. So
I've just been drinking seltzer for these last I don't know how many months, and like maybe the first couple of weeks I was just like, I hate everyone and I need soda, and eventually I got used to seltzer, and now I'm like, all right, cool, I could not get diabetes at a certain point,
I dropped soft drinks in '96, and that's when I started with seltzer water, like years before it was like cool to be like, hey, what soft drink is that? I'm like, it's literally carbonated water, and they'd be like, what? And now then it became cool like 7 years ago. I'm like, that is not something I had on my bingo card.
Yeah, and it's cheap. So that's something I look for. I go to Costco and I'm just like, oh, $7 for a 24 pack. That's
hell
great.
yeah.
Like, I'm not paying $12 for a 12 pack of Coke.
Yeah.
I know this is a weird conversation, but this is the shit that we look at as musicians. Like, how do I get shit on the road?
My guy, we're just like, oh yeah, here's the cooler. All right, well, I'm gonna put in my fizzy waters here. So move this out of the way. Okay, I got my Stoke. So all right, which that was a revelation. Was like, oh, have like actually cafe grade espresso that you can just get from the grocery store. It's like, well, okay, then I guess it doesn't matter from Wichita. Peace and love to Wichita. But Brian, this has been so great. Thank you so much for coming on the show, talking about all the music. It's so wonderful. Last thing, question, only thing I ever ask. You may choose to answer it in whichever way you like, interpret it however you like. Why do you do what you do?
Why do I do it? I don't think I have options, I don't think this world is not, if you're a consumer, if you're happy, if you're able to get by without thinking too much about things, then I think you're suited better than, most people. We're musicians. I personally overthink, and I think a lot of us overthink, and we have imposter syndrome, and we have all this self-doubt, and to work through those things within a community setting, which is what a band is, and meeting people on the road, it enables you to feel like you're part of the human experience in a much more empathetic and loving and caring way than waking up and doom scrolling and looking at our social medias and all these things. There's something to be said. Maybe we grew up in a different generation also, where being physically around people, it creates that energy. Not to get like too spiritual or hippie about it, but I feel like when I meet people and not because they like what we do, but because they're genuinely good people. You could feel that, and because you want to speak out on their behalf, you want to help them, they help you in some way, shape, or form. And I've always felt like an outcast and an alien and all those things, and this allowed me to be myself. It allowed me to just create what I wanted to create, and eventually find the people that wanted to be around the thing that I created, and I wanted to be around the thing they created, and find our niche together. So it's helped me immensely in life, I think.
Brian, thank you so much, man. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Conan. I appreciate you always. Hopefully see you soon.
Catch you down the road.
Bye-bye.
There he goes. All right. What a cool guy. Let's throw something on from We Demand a Permanent State of Happiness, either about to come out or already out, depending on when you are engaging with this specific episode. Let's hear first song, Nihilism for Dummies.
Is this thing on? Can you hear me now? Are we going? Is this thing on?
Yeah, that was Def Club. We demand a permanent state of happiness.
Can you hear me now?
That was the first single. Great stuff. Now listen for dummies. I'd like to thank Brian. Pick that up. Oh, by the way, pick that up 31G. Or sorry, defclub31g.bandcamp.com. Yeah, good stuff. Appreciate Brian. Appreciate having him on. Name of the show is Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. Thank you so much for listening to it. You can find the show streaming live on YouTube and Twitch again. I decided now that I'm going to start doing that again.
All the ships at sea.
Podcast it later everywhere. Always free. No ads, no sponsors, no kidding. Protonicreversal.com for those archives. Always free, but no ads, no sponsors, no kidding. But if you want to support the show, get episodes sooner, $1 a month at patreon.com/Protonic gladly achieves that goal. So take note of that. Thanks for folks sharing the episodes around, liking, subscribing to your platform of choice, leaving a review. That helps people discover the show. It's deeply appreciated. And don't take it lightly.
Sound into electricity.
Let's see. Steve Until, Neurosis coming up. Nina Nostalgia. It's going to be a great month.
Out on Route 128, you're dark and lonely.
Stay safe out there.
I got my radio on. Can you hear me now?
Check you later.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? The end of radio. And that snare drum and that drum roll means we've got a winner. If you're the fifth caller, or any caller at all, welcome to my top 10. I'd like to thank our sponsor. But we haven't got a sponsor. Not if you were the last man on earth. She was prepared to prove it. This one goes out to a special girl. But there is no special girl. It's the end of radio. The last announcer plays the last record. The last what? Leaves the transmitter. Circles the globe in search of a listener. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? it really broadcasting if there's no one there to receive? It's the end of radio. As we come to the close of our broadcast day, got my radio on.